Part of it, this kind of ties in with what you mentioned with kind of commercialization of art is where the idea of fame, the kind of the notion that and then I think you said it like being famous or the desire to be loved by strangers.
Yep.
So how does this tie in with kind of what you mentioned that the commodification of art maybe?
Well, the thing is that every artist, and I don't care who they are, and there are a lot of label mates I know that maybe even try to deny this. Every artist has an ego.
Sure.
There's an ego. You would not make art and put it into the world in the first place if you didn't think, part of you at least, God, what I'm making is really powerful shit, and I want people to hear this or to read it, and I want people to pat me on the back and say, you are one of the greats of our time. Mm-hmm. That's in all of us. That's part of it. You can't let it dominate your mindset, but it's in you, and you have to accept that fact. What I think is the problem today, mainly in regards to that, and fame, is that Andy Warhol started something where the artist became part of the art. Mm-hmm. He himself was a piece of art, and he noticed that fame culture, celebrity culture, was going to take over Western society, and it did. And even down to our 15 minutes of fame thing, everybody's on Twitter and always taking pictures of themselves, sure. And we do it for the sake of getting it. Why do we take pictures of ourselves on Instagram? To get as many likes as possible and to get that endorphin kick of a lot of people think I'm beautiful or hot or interesting or they want to be me or whatever. And that's what celebrity culture is. It's vicariously always living through other people, because your life isn't that great, so you want to be one of the special people that have the fabulous lives. But the bigger thing that happened with artists, I think, now is that things like this and other such stuff, the artist became bigger than the art. I mean, more people know about David Foster Wallace and watch his interviews than actually reading his work. Right. And they think he's so great and all this stuff because he pontificates so well in these interviews. And I'm not knocking him. I love Wallace, but I've read his stuff. Right. I like the art. The man is nice, but the thing that happens when the artist becomes bigger than the art is that we start thinking, we find out say that Kanye West or something is like, oh, he's a crazy person. He's batshit insane, or he's meeting with Trump and stuff like that. It's like, who fucking cares? Sure. It's like, what matters is his work. I don't care what he does or what he's doing or anything like. If I became a friend of his, I would care because it's a friend. But because I don't know him, I don't care what he's doing. It's like, are his albums good? You know, it's the same thing. Like some feminist lenses today that in literary schools don't like Hemingway because his persona as an artist was very macho, misogynistic, and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't care how Hemingway was as a person. Right. And I don't care that he blew his brains out. I care if his books are any good. I like The Sun Also Rises. I fell asleep for Who the Bell Tolls, you know? That's the problem with the fame culture, is that now it's more about the artist than it is the art. And we're more obsessed with the people than with what they produce. And that's why we have things like the Kardashians who don't produce anything and are just famous, but people just love that, you know? And I think it's detrimental ultimately to society. And I think the political atmospheres of many countries in the West right now are showing that result, you know, of our hedonistic entertainment feeding, nature that we've let kind of consume us.
And I find it very interesting because, let me not ask that, but do you think there's a remedy for it?
Yeah, but it's not. Do you want me to say it?
No. But do you think is it an irreversible thing?
Yeah, there's a remedy. I mean, time will play itself out as it will. I personally think there's a solution to it, but I'm also 23 and don't it's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. Maybe, Brexit and Donald Trump and stuff like that are good for the nations. I don't fucking know, But I'm just giving off opinions and stuff like that and saying that, these results of certain things don't seem to be very positive, or why they happened don't seem to be very positive, or what I'm observing doesn't seem to be very positive. I'm not very much a political person. I'm just making observations here and saying there's things about culture, which I think is more important than politics, is where the battle needs to be fought. And it can fix itself. It could. There have been lulls in cultures many times in different societies, and renaissances happen. But I think there's more barriers now. And I think it's because people are being doped up on entertainment and narcissism, and we're so hedonistic now that I think it's going to be harder for people to go back to what I feel is a more positive solution, which involves things like critical thinking and reading and being more of an informed individual. Basically, how I say is Kierkegaard predicted that one day, in describing the world as like a play, there would be more viewers and actors in the whole thing.
Sure.
More people vicariously living through other people. And it's very hard once you're a viewer, and it's so easy to do, to just sit there and watch other people do stuff, to get them, pull them out of their seats and bring them on the stage and say, be yourself, be an individual, live your own life in a very unique way or something, and to tell them that. It doesn't mean that you have to be an artist or anything. You could be a construction worker or whatever, but at least to be an individual and have your own thoughts, and to critically think about things and say, wow, I have this one life and I'm gonna die someday, so I should do something with it. It's very hard now, I think, to get people to really think about that. I think it's really hard.
And so with the debut album then, because you, as you mentioned, you like to approach it from a very abstract sense, and I also read somewhere that you said albums, when done correctly, are like films and novels with kind of an overarching narrative.
Yep.
So is there a way you want your audience to perceive your music, or is that open to them as well?
There's always ways that you want them to, but again, there's subjective realities that I can't control.
Right.
I can only control how I view those things. And that's like always the difficulty in making art in the first place, is you're trying to take whatever in your head and coherently bring it out in the world where other people can at least relate to it in some way. Now, some things are more abstract and some things are more straightforward. A David Lynch film is more abstract, but it's purposely more abstract, and it's meant to be more open. Nobody, he says, like, I think Eraserhead is his most religious film, and everybody's like, why? And it's like, that's all I'm going to tell you. You think of why I think it's that way. Maybe it's not that way. I don't know, but it's how I view it. So how I'm going to view this record is going to be different than how you're going to view it and everybody else is. And, the things that we've been talking about in this interview are in that album, and I hope people think about them that way. But people could just listen to the songs and not even listen to the lyrics and just be like, I like the melody. I don't know.
Right.
So I can't control that, And that's why I don't try to get too hopped up on it. I'm always focusing on what am I writing next? What's the next thing that I'm doing, rather than, God, I hope so-and-so gives me a good album rating, and I hope that, this girl I like hears the line about her or something, or I hope this, corporation is getting the middle finger that I'm giving them, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can't think about that stuff. It came out that way. It was written that way, and that's how it is. And if people get it, great. And if they don't, I'm still going to keep making more work. Right. So,
And like you mentioned, you are continuously writing. So
Yep.
what have you noticed that occupies your mind now?
What occupies my mind now?
Yeah, in terms of what comes out through writing.
Lately, it's been stuff that we've been talking about. I think there are things that I'm experiencing that are different. Like, a lot of this stuff comes from being in the industry stuff and the record and being new to it. Some of it is coming now from more of my experiences in it, and seeing how there's like a concept, for example, of like when you're being courted, which I was by labels and other agencies and stuff like that. Everybody's really nice to you. People buy things for you. People do things for you. And then once you pick your people and you're in the heat of it, people aren't actually that way.
Sure.
If you're pick with good people, yeah, like they're good to you, but like there's a false sense of like overdoing it that I don't really like that they do in courting. Some people didn't court me that way, and I went with them because of that. But there's definitely like this whole, definitely don't feel like I belong in this industry, weirdly enough. I don't feel like I belong here at all, really. I'm making the stuff. I think my stuff's good. I think, it should be heard, and I think I'm saying things that are important and everything. But, I mean, I don't belong at these industry parties or talking with these, a lot of contemporaries that are, thinking most of the time anything that I say, or like when I'm trying to make something more high-minded, they think I'm just being like an elitist asshole or something.
Right.
And I'm not. It's just that's what tickles me, and that's fine if it doesn't tickle you or whatever. But I just find that I get along with more bookworms than I do musicians.
Right.
And that's kind of the weird part is I'm a bookworm that's on a stage right now, and going around with people not wanting to go out and party with a bunch of young people, but be left alone in a mountain reading Nietzsche or something.
Sure.
And sipping my White Russians or vodka teas or whatever it is that I like to drink, and if that makes any sense. So that's like that kind of loneliness is kind of on my mind right now, okay. I think, and being in this place, in this industry that fate seemed to drag me in by the nape of the neck, and I don't feel that I'm one of those people.
Right.
Like I said, I've told people I don't really consider myself a musician. I'm a writer. Right. I just happen to write songs, and I love music. I really love the medium. It's not like I hate making music. I love making records. I love the people that I work with and everything. Jaguar is a great label, and I've met really wonderful people. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely hasn't been a point yet where I've been like, oh yeah, like these group of bands and these artists, we're all in the same,
right.
group and stuff like that. We're all pals and we're all good buddies. I don't feel that with anybody,
Can you see yourself returning to academia then, and kind of?
I could.
As you mentioned.
I could hang up my sword and go live a quieter life maybe someday. I don't know. I can't predict that. You know. I know that what's on my mind now is making music. That's what's getting funded. That's what I know has openings into the world, and a lot of my efforts going there. I have other mediums of art that I play around with as well, and I do them because that's how they come out.
Right.
And I don't know if it's like how I wrote the songs originally in the college dorm room. I didn't know if they were going to get put out or not. They just came out of me. So if I write a novel or something, which I have a couple times now, I didn't know if they're going to get published or not. They just came out, and I needed to express myself in that medium. And that's kind of like my whole life is centered around finding ways to make a living so I can just continuously vent these things out of me and get the joy in the work. Because for me, there's not really much joy elsewhere besides being in the workshop and making the things, if that makes sense. Okay. So. I know. Hopefully, I know that's kind of hopped all over the place. But.
No, I get it. So, Trevor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.